Is Theacrine the new caffeine for sprint performance? In this video, we are looking at the article, Theacrine as a novel ergogenic aid, impact on canoe sprint performance. It was published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition in 2025, by Jovanov and colleagues. The study tested elite canoe sprint athletes under 4 conditions: placebo, caffeine, theacrine, and caffeine combined with theacrine. The main question was simple: can theacrine match caffeine in high-intensity performance? Or is caffeine still the stronger ergogenic aid? Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Sports Science Insight. Here we break down sports science research into simple, practical, and evidence-based insights for athletes, coaches, students, and practitioners. Let's break it down. Canoe sprint is a high-intensity sport. In a 500-meter race, athletes need explosive power, technical precision, fatigue resistance, and the ability to sustain mechanical output under extreme stress. The race is short enough to demand a major anaerobic contribution, but it is also long enough that pacing, oxygen use, and muscular efficiency still matter. This is why ergogenic aids are so attractive in sprint paddling. A small improvement in power output can change race time, and in elite sport, even 1 or 2 seconds can matter. So the key idea is this: in sprint paddling, small changes in power can decide the race. That is why comparing caffeine, theacrine, and their combination is practically relevant. The study tested 4 supplement conditions. The first was placebo, the second was caffeine, the third was theacrine, and the fourth was caffeine plus theacrine. The caffeine condition used 200 milligrams of caffeine. The theacrine condition used 200 milligrams of theacrine. The combined condition used 100 milligrams of caffeine plus 100 milligrams of theacrine. All capsules looked the same. The study was double-blind, so the athletes and researchers did not know which condition was being tested during each trial. The design was also crossover. That means every athlete tested every condition. This is important because it reduces the influence of individual differences between athletes. The study tested whether theacrine works alone or better with caffeine. The participants were 20 highly trained male canoe sprint athletes. They were national-level athletes, and the group included very high-level competitors, including Olympic finalists. Each athlete completed the supplement conditions in randomized order. The supplements were taken 60 minutes before testing. Then the athletes performed 2 main tests on a kayak ergometer. First, a 500-meter time trial. Second, a 30-second Wingate Anaerobic Test. During the tests, the researchers measured performance, oxygen uptake, muscle oxygenation, heart rate, blood pressure, perceived exertion, and power output. They also used NIRS to monitor muscle oxygen saturation in the vastus lateralis. The key point is, each athlete tested every supplement condition under controlled conditions. The first major result came from the 500-meter time trial. Caffeine was the strongest condition. Compared with placebo, caffeine reduced race time by 1.872 seconds. That was statistically significant. The caffeine plus theacrine condition also improved performance. It reduced race time by 1.383 seconds compared with placebo. That was also statistically significant. But theacrine alone did not produce a significant performance improvement. It reduced time by only 0.462 seconds, and that change was not statistically significant. So the message is very clear. Caffeine clearly improved sprint time. The caffeine-theacrine combination also helped, but theacrine alone did not. For a short, high-intensity 500-meter paddling effort, caffeine remained the strongest acute ergogenic aid. The second major result came from the 30-second Wingate test. Again, caffeine produced the strongest effect. Caffeine increased total distance paddled by 2.31 meters compared with placebo. It also increased maximal power output by 48.9 watts. The caffeine plus theacrine condition also improved performance. It increased distance by 1.88 meters and maximal power output by 25.9 watts. Theacrine alone did not produce a clear significant effect on distance, average power, maximal power, or fatigue index. This tells us something important. The performance gain came mainly from higher mechanical output. The athletes who produced more power covered more distance and performed better. So, for sprint paddling, the supplement effect was not about feeling easier. It was about producing more power. Why did caffeine work better? Caffeine is a well-established ergogenic aid. One of its main mechanisms is blocking adenosine receptors. Adenosine is involved in fatigue signaling. When caffeine blocks adenosine, athletes may feel more alert, more activated, and better able to produce high-intensity effort. In this study, caffeine also increased anaerobic contribution. During the 500-meter time trial, caffeine increased MAOD, or maximal accumulated oxygen deficit, by 327.4 joules compared with placebo. That suggests greater anaerobic energy contribution. Caffeine also increased average power output and was strongly linked with faster race times. The strongest performance relationships were with average power, maximum power, and minimum power. So the key message is, caffeine helped athletes produce more power without clearly increasing perceived effort. More output, not necessarily more discomfort. Theacrine is structurally similar to caffeine, but in this study, theacrine alone was not enough to significantly improve performance. One possible reason is timing. The supplements were taken 60 minutes before testing, but theacrine may have a slower onset of action, with some evidence suggesting peak effects closer to about 2 hours. So the test timing may not have been ideal for theacrine. Another reason is that theacrine may act more through central nervous system effects, mood, alertness, or sustained focus, rather than producing the same acute performance boost as caffeine. This does not mean theacrine has no potential, but under this protocol, in elite canoe sprint athletes, theacrine alone did not significantly improve race time or Wingate performance. The practical interpretation is, theacrine may need different timing, different dosing, chronic use, or combined use to become more relevant. One of the most interesting findings is that performance improved without clear increases in cardiovascular or perceived stress markers. Across conditions, the study found no significant differences in heart rate, no significant differences in blood pressure, and no significant differences in perceived exertion. That matters, because caffeine improved performance but the athletes did not report higher effort, and they did not show greater cardiovascular stress in the measured variables. The study also found that muscle oxygen saturation and total hemoglobin slopes were not significantly changed by supplementation. So the improvement was probably not explained mainly by local oxygen delivery or perfusion changes. The better explanation is mechanical output. The athletes produced more power, especially under caffeine. So the key message is, performance improved without clear increases in cardiovascular or perceived effort. So what should athletes and coaches take from this study? First, caffeine remains the strongest acute ergogenic aid in this protocol. It improved 500-meter time trial performance. It improved Wingate distance. It increased maximal power output, and it increased anaerobic contribution. Second, theacrine alone did not show meaningful performance benefits under these testing conditions. Third, caffeine plus theacrine did improve performance compared with placebo, but the effect was generally smaller than caffeine alone. Fourth, the combination may still be interesting because it used a lower caffeine dose. That could matter for athletes who want to reduce caffeine intake, manage tolerance, or avoid side effects. But it needs more research. The practical recommendation is simple: caffeine still wins. Theacrine is promising, but it should not replace caffeine as the primary acute ergogenic tool for sprint paddling. Athletes should test any supplement strategy before competition, never for the first time on race day. If this video helped you, leave a like, subscribe to Sports Science Insight, and stay tuned for more evidence-based content on sports nutrition, performance, recovery, and training science. And tell me in the comments, would you use caffeine alone, or would you test caffeine plus theacrine for high-intensity performance? See you in the next breakdown.